Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today, there's a funny article I thought we could have some laughs and read together. Jan Moyer from Daily Mail has a lot of funny things to say about Harry, as do we all. So I thought, you know what, let's deep dive into this and talk about it as we read it. So thanks so much for being here. Let's jump right on in. So Jan Moyer writes, Prince Harry reformed journalism? He doesn't even know how a comma works. So just a reminder, that was one of the more ludicrous things, and there were so many to choose from that came out of this Prince Harry on the stand, right? Is that he said he's there to save journalism. That guy. Deep breath. Are you okay? The Duke of Sussex was back in court on his second and final day of giving evidence. He entered the witness box just before 10:30 a.m., did a little neck roll, took a sip of water, and prepared for the ordeal ahead. The prince was in his smart suit and had swapped Tuesday's purple tie for a snazzy silver one. But something else was different, too. Something more elusive. Did I detect a new spritz of lemon in his cocktail of complaint? A rousing grind of pepper on his ongoing beef? I just love the way she writes. We covered an article she did recently. Definitely go back and check that out. Where she called Harry, hold on, I wrote it down. I'm trying to find it. It was pretty funny. It was a combustible mixture of victimhood and arrogance. That pretty well sums him up. It's almost as if he had been instructed overnight to answer questions with a simple yes or no and stick to the script. For God's sake. For example, he had a better response to the important question of when he had read the newspaper articles in question. On Tuesday, he repeatedly told the court he couldn't remember. End of. Yesterday, it was, I can't remember, but that is to suggest that the stress has been reduced, and it hasn't been. Soon, we were roving over evidence about his wild and crazy younger life, including an injured knee that delayed his entry into Sandhurst, his trips to lap dancing clubs, his boozy playboy lifestyle, and his relationship with Chelsea Davy. I'm going to take a pause right there and say you guys had the best responses in the comment section about how many plates must be being smashed in Montecito to see him mention Chelsea hundreds of times, and I believe somebody counted 5 times that he said Meghan. Ooh, he's going to be in trouble. And also, when Jan talks about the overnight conversations, I wondered if she's pointing toward Meghan, but she's implying that he got actual instructions, so then I start thinking, well, then that can't be from Meghan. It must be his attorneys he's talking to. I'm not really sure. But the other thing that you guys so smartly pointed out, thank you for everybody that commented this, remember that Dumb and Dumberton had maybe not bragged. They had talked about in their tax filings that they work 1 hour a week for Archewell. Just let that sink in. 1 hour a week for a supposed, however you want to take that, alleged charitable organization, right? And yet we find out, or he says in court, that he talks 3 to 4 hours a night to his attorneys. Just let that sink in. See where his priorities are at. So the article continues, Prince Harry, so very vague about so much that happened back then, had a sudden illuminating jolt of memory. He argued that he did not go to a London nightclub called Amica once a month. I don't believe I was there that often. And doubted the newspaper's version of events. I don't see any quotes from the Lithuanian lap dancer who sat on my lap. However, we all know Harry by now. Give our guy a public platform and it won't be long before he's complaining about his privacy. As Jay said, whatever keeps this guy talking because he is hilarious. Although, to be scrupulously fair, this is a phone hacking trial and not an exercise in vengeance, or is it? You know, that is something that keeps rolling around in my brain too. I don't think I've said it, which is, so Doofus goes on and on whining and about privacy. He finally gets his day in court to discuss his favorite topic, privacy. And he can't even make a case for himself, even though he's the one that brought this to court. You just can't make this stuff up. During his cross-examination by Andrew Green, love him, acting for Mirror Group newspapers, Prince Harry revealed that he decided to bring the case after meeting lawyer David Sherburne, I don't think I said that right, in the south of France, sometimes known as a sunny place for shady people. But that, of course, is not relevant here. God, I love the way she writes. Harry also revealed that part of his impetus for the lawsuit was a desire to do something about the abuse and hate that was coming toward me and my wife. I'm sorry, I will never not find that funny. In recent years. So an exercise in revenge and punishment rather than one in justice and ethics? Exactly. So once again, they're doing that thing where they just throw these things out with no actual proof or facts to back them up, hoping that people will get mad. And the only ones falling for it is the sugars, and that doesn't say very much. In the witness statement, Prince Harry grandly described himself as someone who wants to save journalism as a profession. And, you guys, he called himself a, quote, soldier upholding important values. I'm sorry, what? It would be simply crushing to discover that this warrior of morality was motivated even a little bit by less noble sentiments. Despite his new focus, it wasn't long before the prince was drifting far from shore again, answering the questions in his head rather than the ones he had been asked, and taking any opportunity to expound on his personal grievances to the judge. Quote, doesn't mean it's true, my lord, he would say. I highly doubt that, my lord, he would add. Mr. Green got a little exasperated at one point and said, could I just repeat what I said yesterday? This is about me asking you questions, not you asking me questions. I just love Mr. Green. I love that he's taking Harry down about 25 notches. I think it's so much fun. So be it, sighed the KC after another dead-end exchange with the prince. There was a discussion yet again about what was and was not in the public interest. Prince Harry was asked to define the former and gave the matter some thought. A life-threatening injury, he suggested. I'm sure there are others. I'm sure there are. Again and again, we got a glimpse of the unique struggles of the young prince's cloistered life, a miserable-sounding existence constrained by suspicion and privilege. He was chary of everyone, and inside this quarrel of distrust, he was ministered by people he variously described as my security, my point person, and even my police. Sometimes you have to wonder who on earth was looking after this lost, motherless boy. At other times, his lack of acuity is gasping. Towards the end of the day, the focus switched onto a news story about his breakup with Chelsea Davy, printed with the headline, Hooray, Harry's dumped. My lord, this was hurtful to say the least, said the prince, adding that he found it a little bit mean. That was such a private moment that was turned into a bit of a laugh. Hello? Isn't that what he did with Spare? He turned every private moment into what, well, he thought was a bit of a laugh. The rest of us were cringing. See face cream. You're not suggesting that they, the newspaper, were celebrating you had been dumped, said Green, incredulous. Yes, I am. For me, said Harry, touching his heart with fluttering fingers, as a subject or victim, you guys, of this. To see that word used in this term is hurtful. If only a newspaper sub-editor or anyone with a rudimentary grasp of grammar had been on hand to explain the difference between hooray, Harry's dumped, and hooray, Harry's dumped. So once again, because Harry doesn't understand something, he thinks everybody's out to get him. It's unconscious bias. How can a man come through an expensive education without knowing the basic rules of punctuation, or expect to single-handedly, quote, save journalism if he doesn't even know how a comma works? When he'd finished giving his evidence, Prince Harry took a seat in the courtroom for the rest of the day. How had it all gone? Well, that morning Mr. Green had asked him if it was true that he was brought back early from his tour of duty in Afghanistan. He says, "I was evacuated." You could say the same about his hours in the witness box. And that's how the article ends. Again, I love it. I love the way Jan Moyer points out so many of the things that we're saying as well, that, again, he's just wasting everybody's time. I had so many comments saying, is there a contempt of court, not contempt, what was it, a frivolous lawsuit type thing? Or I'd love to know the ins and outs of that. If anybody's in the legal profession, let me know, because it seems like a big old waste of everybody's time. While the only one enjoying this, well, I'm sure Mr. Green enjoys it, but are his lawyers, talking about Harry's lawyers, because they're laughing all the way to the bank. Anyway, guys, as more news continues to come out about this, you know I'll be talking about it. Thank you so much for being here, as always. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you want to further support, definitely check out my merch. I got Recollections May Vary, Make It Make Sense, or check out Patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. That's where you can become an executive producer and get your shout out. Speaking of which, I'm going to shout out my executive producers now. So huge thank you to Linda. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you to Paige. Huge thank you to Teresa. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Aaron and Frank. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Ann M. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Ann H. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Glynis. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Adair Becker. Thank you to Erica. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Barb G. Thank you to Diana. Thank you, Allison B. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Lori. Thank you to Pauline. Thank you to KT. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, Stromboli. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Loie. Thank you, Lucy H. Thank you to Georgia. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Robbins Landing. Thank you to Helen. Thank you to Mara. Thank you, Ashley C. Thank you to Molly. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Sand Squid. Thank you to Rach. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Domby. Thank you, Android P. Thank you to Sheena. Thank you, Aaron M. Thank you, Faye. Thank you, Judith. Thank you, Spectrum Mom. Thank you, Vanessa B. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Mimi Heathcote. Thank you, Misty. Thank you, Candy. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you to Bree. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you to Elvis Rose here on YouTube. Thank you to Lori. Thank you, Tim B. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Elisa. Thank you, Kathy with a C. Thank you, Allison. I so appreciate you all. Thank you if you are on the Patreon. Thank you if you're an executive producer. And hey, if you're not, definitely check it out. We have a lot of fun over there. Guys, I hope you have the best day, and I will talk to you again soon. Can't wait to bring you another video like this. Take care. Bye-bye.